Let's dive into a timeless story about a community that was pushed right to the very edge. It's a story about faith, about raw desperation, and about a single choice that would change absolutely everything. And really, it all boils down to this one central question. What happens when a sacred law, a pillar of your entire belief system, smashes right up against the urgent, gnawing need to survive? That's the dilemma we're going to unpack today. So picture this, a small, devout fishing village right by the sea. These are good people, faithful people, but they're starving. And they're facing a test from God that is so strange, so specific, it feels deeply, deeply personal. And this is where the situation gets just brutal. For 6 days a week, the days they are supposed to work, their nets come up completely empty. Nothing. Starvation is literally knocking on their doors. But then, on the Sabbath, the one holy day they are forbidden to work, the day of rest and worship, the sea is teeming with fish. They're practically jumping onto the shore, mocking them. You can see how this is more than just a challenge. It's a divine test, pushing this entire community to its breaking point. In the middle of all this desperation, we meet our first major character, Hizkel. He's the chief of the fishermen, and importantly, he's wealthy. When his starving people come to him for help, this is what he says. It's so dismissive, so cynical. He sees their suffering not as a community crisis, but as an annoying grab for his own money. And on the complete other side of the coin, you have Aaron. He's a man of deep faith, and he's suffering right alongside everyone else. His nets are just as empty. But unlike Hezekiel, he feels their pain. He has nothing to give them but his conviction, urging them to just have patience, to trust that God will see them through. But, you can only tell a hungry person to wait for so long. Patience starts to run thin, and this is that moment where desperation gives birth to a very clever but very, very dangerous idea. Hisco, being the smart guy he is, comes up with this plan. It's actually a brilliant bit of engineering designed to be a loophole in God's law. See, they won't technically fish on the Sabbath, no. They'll just dig some ponds, set some traps on Friday, let the fish swim in and trap themselves on Saturday, and then they'll collect their huge bounty on Sunday. They're following the letter of the law, right? But the real question is, are they honoring its spirit? Well, not everyone's buying it. A wise elder, Sheikh Abram, sees right through this scheme. He sees it for what it is, a deception. And he issues this chilling warning, asking a question that just cuts right to the heart of it all. Who do you think you're fooling with this little trick? God? Or are you just fooling yourselves? But that warning falls on a lot of deaf ears. Hezekiel's plan does more than just trap fish. It splits the entire community right down the middle. The division gets so bad, so absolute, that the faithful, led by Aaron and Sheikh Abram, make a radical decision. They start to build a wall, a literal, physical wall, brick by brick, to separate themselves from their own neighbors. So why a wall? What were they so afraid of? It comes down to this one powerful Arabic word, fitna. A fitna is a massive trial, a temptation so great it can test your faith to its absolute core. The wealth that was about to come from this act of disobedience, that was the fitna. And they felt they couldn't even bear to witness it. That wall wasn't just made of stone, it was a shield for their souls. And this is what the village looks like now. On one side of the wall, you've got Aaron's group holding on with prayer and patience, sharing what little they have. On the other side, Hezekiel's followers are buzzing with greed, just waiting for their big payday. The village is no longer one community. It's two separate worlds. So, the ponds are dug, the traps are set, and the Sabbath arrives. The choice has been made, the line has been drawn in the sand. Or, in this case, a wall has been built. And now, all that's left is to see the consequence. And the plan works. It works spectacularly. On Sunday, the transgressors pull in a massive catch. They feast, they celebrate, and they openly mock the believers hiding behind the wall. They're shouting things like this, taunting them, saying that the very fitna they were so afraid of is delicious. But after a whole night of loud, obnoxious feasting, the next morning comes, and there's silence. Just an eerie quiet hanging over the village. The faithful, they're concerned. They creep up to the wall to see what's happened. What do you think they found? When they peer over that wall, what they see isn't a fire or a flood. It's something much, much stranger. Their neighbors, the transgressors, have been changed. The divine judgment was transformation. The young among them were turned into apes, and the old were turned into pigs. And here's the most tragic part. Aaron approaches these creatures, and he looks into their eyes, and he recognizes them. He recognizes the people he grew up with, his friends, his neighbors. All he can do is ask this heartbreaking question, a sad confirmation that all the warnings were real, and the price for their clever little plan was higher than anyone could have ever imagined. So this isn't just a scary story about punishment. It ends with this incredibly powerful, enduring lesson about what obedience really means, and about the immense danger of deceiving ourselves. And the whole story is framed by this verse from the Quran. It's a stark reminder that you can't really outsmart or find loopholes around divine commands. The story of the people of the Sabbath is preserved for a reason. It's a warning. It shows that true faith isn't about finding a clever way out. It's about having trust, especially when the trial feels impossible. And it leaves all of us with a final thought, right? When we face our own tests, are we looking for a clever loophole, or are we looking for a faithful way through?